Hello Anna and welcome. We are really glad to have you with us today. So could you please introduce yourself?
Hello, Sophia. Thank you for having me. I'm really glad to be here today and to talk to you on the matter, on some aspects related to career path, to professional development. Thank you for the invitation.
So I must admit that in today's episode we're talking about current job market, the professions that are going to disappear or could disappear in some years, and we are seeking the opinion of people who actually work in the fields we're going to discuss. So today the field is going to be translation. Am I right?
Yes, you're right.
Okay, so my first question would be how and why did you decide to choose this career path?
Well, to begin with, I should tell you that in the last years of my studies at school, I realized my passion for the languages, for the foreign languages. Well, actually, not for the foreign languages, but maybe for the English language specifically. And I decided to go deeper in this field. So I attended an additional English language course on top of my school program. And I should admit that I was lucky to have a brilliant English tutor at school during my last years. And I really owe it to him, my passion and my love for studying languages. So I think he played an important role actually in my further choice of the profession. And also, once again, the tutors at the language school were brilliant, and they showed me different aspects of learning a foreign language, which also influenced my further choice. Also, now it comes to my mind that during my earlier years at school, I had several attempts. I made several attempts to learn foreign languages. So I tried to a self-study course of the French language, but well, actually I didn't complete it, unfortunately. And also I'm speaking now about mid-90s. At that time we had a lot of TV programs dedicated to learning foreign languages, so I had some basic knowledge in German, in French, and I was always curious about that. So probably I had this I had probably some talent or whatever. Well, at least I had some interest in foreign languages, and thanks to my tutors and thanks to the circumstances, I decided to develop this interest into something bigger. And when it was time to choose to decide on further studies, on further education, I decided to learn to enter actually the University of Foreign Languages. And for 1 year I was really preparing. I was studying hard. I had also private lessons with a tutor who worked at that university, and she also influenced, well, she helped me improve and enhance my knowledge profoundly. And thanks to her support and thanks to the studies, I actually entered the university and even had a possibility to study on a budget-funded place, which was really important. Of course, at that time, it was also an element of my motivation, because my family could not afford actually paying for my studies an enormous amount of money. So I was really determined to win, I would say, this budget-funded place. and actually I succeeded in this, and I'm really proud. And I'm also very grateful to my family for their support and for finding a possibility to pay for these private lessons with my English tutor, which actually enabled me to achieve my goal. But one important moment that I would like to highlight, I actually wanted to. My mother's friend was a Spanish Ukrainian interpreter who worked in Argentina and in Uruguay embassies in Kiev, embassies to Ukraine in Kiev. And as we often visited their family and talked with her, she also influenced she had some influence in my decision to become an interpreter. And there was a sort of a joke. She used to say, "Okay, Anna, I'm going to retire soon, so just when you graduate, you will be able to take my job position." And I don't know, maybe at that time I did believe that this would be possible. And my initial decision was to submit documents for the Spanish language. I realized at that time that entering the university, like applying for English language and literature, was a bit risky due to extremely high competition, and Spanish and other Romanic languages, they were not so popular probably among future students. So my initial decision was to enter the Spanish language, but when I came to the university to submit my documents, I suddenly recalled my love for the French language, and I saw that there were going to be two groups of French students. So I decided that my chances are higher, and I submitted my documents for the French language, and that was a turning point probably, which actually influenced, I think, my whole career and gave me a lot of advantages in my current position. For example, and in general, it's very, very good for me, I think so.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. And how about the roadmap? Did you have it initially, and what changed throughout your career?
Well, as I had mentioned, I did have a roadmap, and the roadmap, a sort of roadmap, okay? Because yes, I was supposed to graduate from the university and to take up on my aunt Nadia position at the embassy. But as I changed my mind and submitted my documents for the French language and literature, my roadmap was subject to change. Initially, as I had mentioned, the roadmap was for me to take up on a translator-interpreter position at the embassy of Uruguay to Ukraine. But as I changed my mind suddenly when submitting the documents, well, I had to rethink my roadmap at the time. So, well, it was subject to change. After graduation, I started, during my fourth and fifth year of studies at the university, I already started working. And this was not like a permanent job, nothing like this, but from time to time I used to translate animation films, science fiction films from the French language into Ukrainian and from the English language into Ukrainian for a TV company in Ukraine. And I did like it, but the job was honestly underpaid, and it required a lot of efforts. But that was a great experience for me as a student, as a beginner, to learn actually how to translate, to be able to see some feedback from the editor upon submitting my translations. So it also helped me grow, it obviously helped me grow professionally. And after graduation, I wanted to take some time to rethink the possibilities, to like maybe to have some rest, because
Like a gap year?
a sort of a gap year. But I need to say that I actually had a gap year after the fourth year of studies, and during this year I never stopped working, and I resumed my studies for the master's degree. So actually my studies lasted more than 5 years, as it was intended initially. So I graduated in 2006, and I wanted to actually to have a gap year, but the circumstances actually turned in a way that I had a job offer, and not a job offer initially. My former group mate asked me if I would like to consider a job in a bank, a translator's job in a bank. She was hired some few months ago, and she really liked the environment and this all opportunities. And I decided to apply for this job instead of taking this gap year as I had planned before. And I received a job offer, and I was admitted to this job. And that's how my actual translators experience manifested, I would say, because it was not what I was used to before. So I had to work as an interpreter. Nobody asked me if I could interpret, if I was able to interpret. Just I remember my first day, my first written translation was a huge document from French to Ukrainian. It was dedicated to home loans, but at that time I had no idea of home loans. So that was a turning point in my career. After a few months at the bank, I decided to go for another degree, and I submitted documents. I applied for finance and banking in a private university, so that I could combine my job and my studies. So the next 2.5 years were a total nightmare, because my studies at the university took place on weekend, and I had to work Monday through Friday, and it was like a never-ending story. But actually it ended up in a good way, and I think that the second degree actually shaped my further career, helped me. Well, my initial decision was to gain a deeper knowledge of the area in which I started working, and finally it developed my love and my interest also for the finance. And well, English, the language of finance is English, but I work in a French bank, in a French-owned bank. So I have like a double challenge. It's not only the English terminology, but also the French terminology, which is totally different and not at all consistent with what we all are used to. And it is a permanent challenge for myself, but also a permanent opportunity to develop my knowledge, to develop professionally further and further.
It's incredible how your career path turned out this way. And how did you see the future back then in 2006? Did you expect any automated translation tools to appear?
And speaking about 2006, back then there were already some rumors, I would say some speculations, that automated translation tools might appear and might replace real translators.
And how much did it concern you?
It did not concern me at that time much due to my age probably, and due to even at that time due to my understanding that not well, some jobs may be automated for sure, some manual jobs, I think some technical things, but the point about translation is it still requires a lot of human in it. It contains a lot of human aspects, and when we, for example, when we're not talking about something very, very formal, well prepared, when we think about, for example, some ordinary conversation between ordinary people or some lower level, it's very hard to train the speakers speak 100% correctly, so that the translator captures everything correctly. And also, let's not forget about some local dialects, some local specifics, some individual specifics of pronunciation, and so on. Here comes one moment that I wanted to add. For the past 15 years, I've been working with expatriates, mostly French, of French origin or French Francophone, and some of during some time also of Austrian and German origin, and I have had the possibility to compare their English language level and specifics and so on. And of course, without, for example, speaking about the Francophones, they have a lot of difficulties pronouncing specific sounds in English, in Ukrainian, in Russian, and so on, due to the building of their phonetic apparatus. And sometimes they are more skilled and more capable of fighting, for example, or overcoming these difficulties. Sometimes, but usually they are not. And the knowledge of the French language helps me a lot, because sometimes I just have to guess. I'm sure that no machine translator tool, no automated translator tool is capable of capturing these nuances in these specifics, individual specifics. And I remember quite well all these talks, all these discussions and speculations around about the topic of robots replacing humans in the nearest future, but I was not much concerned about this. Today, when we have, for example, a plenty of machine translation tools, plus artificial intelligence is integrated into these tools to help edit, proofread and edit texts and make them sound more natural, more authentic, I would say. However, I do use these translation tools in my work from time to time for different purposes, and I still see a lot of mistakes, a lot of errors, a lot of I don't know, gaps, translation gaps, which makes me confident, which makes me really believe that yes, probably we can use this machine translation tool, automated translation tools in the future on a wider scale, but they're not capable, at least in this point of time, of replacing translators and especially interpreters who work translate. When we're speaking about written translation, you usually have time to go over the text several times, to read it several times, proofread it, edit, etc. When it comes to interpreting, and especially simultaneous interpreting, like the top level, I would say, you don't have a second chance. You have to work in almost automated mode. And yes, I think that only humans, highly skilled humans, are capable of doing this job, at least for the time being, in this point of time, and for, I don't know, for maybe for 5 to 10 years to come. This is my this is my opinion.
Mm-hmm. What do people outside of your field cannot understand regarding this field where you are working?
Thank you for the question. This is probably one of my favorite topics to talk about, because again, thanks or due to the development of automated translation tools, some people might think that it's easy peasy, you just push a button and here you are, and they don't understand the timelines, for example, that I would give for making a translation. They don't understand why should it take so long if when you access Google Translator and push the button, in a second you have the whole text translated. In this case, I tell them, okay, it's up to you. You can use the Google Translator tool, but please keep in mind that first of all, this tool is not secure, because all information goes to the cloud. So any user, this is they do it because thanks to some improvements that you introduce to the machine translation, this machine actually develops further and improves. And actually any user of the internet can then access your information. So think twice if your information is sensitive, if you need a more secure tool. This is first point. And the second point is, okay, just take this translation, the result of Google Translator work, and try to use it as is, without any improvements. And they often come back because sometimes, now I'm speaking about the English-Ukrainian or French-Ukrainian pairs of languages, which come from different groups of languages actually. And there are some specifics that cannot be taken into account for 100%, of course. And sometimes Google Translator just replaces or omits some sentence or even a paragraph, just as it is. And sometimes it distorts the meaning because the original text was not of perfect quality, for example. So the result might not correspond even 80% or 50% to the expectations of the customer.
Following with this topic, I would like to discuss how much freedom do you have in interpreting the text given to you for translation. I understand that in different fields it might vary, such as business or, for example, translation of some science fiction movie.
Yes, you are quite right. The scope of freedom actually depends on the field you are working in and on the demands and expectations of the customer, because when it comes to business, to finance, to accounting, for example, it's very important to be as precise as possible, as accurate as possible. And actually, I should admit that my second degree in finance helps me here a lot, helps me better understand some aspects of finance, of accounting, etc. Because in comparison to my colleagues who don't have such a background and who have never worked in finance and banking before they joined my team, they struggle with a lot of difficulties when translating such texts, which involves actually spending more time on translation of a certain document. Looking for information on the internet, in books, vocabularies, seeking advice of your colleagues, or even contacting the customer for clarification, for specification, because in every field people use their specific language, I would say some jargon probably, that does not always correspond to the formal and official translation, and you have to be aware of these nuances and be capable of translating them correctly. Sometimes you have much more freedom, even translating at a bank for a bank, when it comes to marketing materials, for example, communication. When it's not something very formal, and you have some freedom. Usually it concerns translation PowerPoint presentations that are intended for the general public, for the staff, for example, of the company, or for presentation at a higher level, for example, at the group level. And here, what is important also is that you have to adapt, to localize and adapt the text according to the local specifics. This is not pure localization as we understand it, of course, but you have to be aware of some internal specifics in the company, because I used to work in different companies in several banks, and even the translation of some names of departments, divisions, etc., other units was different due to some internal specifics, due to some customs already in place at the company. So I would say that, of course, in business, not even in business, but in finance and banking, preciseness is key. But at some point, you may find you may feel more free to work with the text, to play with words, to play with meanings. And it's really nice that we have such an opportunity, because if you only work on some formal text and some very precise documents, it is challenging and even difficult.
If you were starting your career in 2024, would you choose to focus solely on translation and interpreting, or do you believe it's nearly impossible to succeed in those fields unless your language pair is highly specialized?
Well, I don't think it's all about the language pair, or just thinking about your future success and succeeding in the profession. It's about your passion, first of all. It's about your interest, first of all. And when you actually have to choose a profession, you should rely on your strong sides, on your strong points, on your and be guided by your passion, by your interest. Because of course you can change your profession anytime in future. You are not limited to just one profession in general. But it's really good to do something you really love, you are really fond of. It means that you will never get bored of this profession. You will be able to develop professionally on a permanent basis, every day, every moment. It means that you are ready to invest your efforts, to put more efforts in succeeding in improving in this field. So I don't think, people say that there are too many translators and interpreters in the market now, but the question is not the number, but the quality and the result that they produce. And based on my experience, it is very difficult to find, depending on also on price constraints, on the cost of the services, etc. It's very difficult to find a really skilled professional translator that would be that would fit into the field, that would fit into the team. So it means that for me, for example, I can conclude that some people are only guided by, I don't know, by easy access probably to studies, by, for example, possibly by a good command of one language or another, but they lack understanding of what this profession is about, how difficult it might be in some aspects. And it's really useful to get more insights into the profession before you actually made your choice, made the decision to study in this field, and further during your studies to understand, to estimate whether you are moving in the right direction, whether it is what you wanted initially, whether you are ready to invest in your professional development and growth for life. And for example, if I were asked to give a piece of advice to students, to people choosing, thinking about their career, etc., what I would say that you should always listen to yourself. You should be in permanent contact with your inner self and align your decisions with your actions, because when people are only guided by the prestige of the profession, of a certain profession, or by maybe external, I would say, easiness of the profession, of how it appears to the public, it seems to me that they will face a lot of difficulties and challenges on their way, because this is not the right approach, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. So just I would repeat probably a recommendation of many mentors and career advisors, that choose something you really love and try to monetize it, and you will obviously succeed in this field if you are doing what your heart tells you to do, what you are inclined to do in your life. When it comes to rereading your earlier translations, you may feel down and even ashamed, because you see, as you, well, if you are growing on a permanent basis, if you are developing on a permanent basis, and you may sometimes reread, you will have thousands of alternatives to replace what you had already written or said, and it may sometimes undermine your self-esteem and your well, yeah.
Now I will present to you a series of brief questions, continuing on the topic of artificial intelligence and its relation to your field of work. What skills do you believe will become increasingly important for translators in the age of AI?
I think that translators should first of all rely on their knowledge and their experience, because sometimes AI improves your product, your text, in a way that might look okay and even quite realistic, but when you go deeper, you understand that actually it makes just no sense. And so you should never undermine, you should never underestimate your knowledge and your background, your experience. Well, you should question yourself. You should always ask yourself, like, recheck revisit your work, your tax, etc. But you should not 100% rely on artificial intelligence, because sometimes the result is just appalling.
Mm-hmm. And can you discuss any specific instances where AI tools have assisted you in your work, and what are their limitations?
Well, AI, I use AI in my work when, for example, when it comes to texts that most likely no or only few persons might read. Well, the possibility that someone would read this text is very, very limited. I mean, I work in an environment where we need to have the bilingual versions of all documents, for example, for the national bank, for the national regulator on one hand, and for the parent company and for the top management who are expatriates mostly. So sometimes we only need some document in English, for example, to be on the safe side. Let's say in case some external inspection comes and they would ask if do you have, or if some internal regulations require that the documents must be available in two versions. So which means that basically no one is going to read and work with this based on this text. It comes to some specific fields some specific fields that are very, very that include a lot of internal specifics. For example, when it comes to collection processes, I would say most often we use it for translating such documents. And sometimes I do use artificial intelligence assisted translation tools to translate some official documents for public use, not restricted use, of course, because they contain some formulations, some combinations of words, sentences that are very, very typical. And if there have been official translations of similar text before, the artificial intelligence assisted tool will most likely cope with this task quite well, and the document will not require profound proofreading. And for example, when a document does not include a lot of abbreviations and or acronyms, for example, without explanation or specification, the artificial intelligence tool might translate it different on every other instance, so which just makes it impossible to give the document to the customer without profound proofreading.
Mm-hmm. What ethical considerations do you think translators should keep in mind when using AI tools?
Well, actually, privacy is probably the most important aspect that should be always considered. And if any document contains any personal information, and you know that this information will be available to all internet users, of course, you should be aware of such things and never use web-based tools for such purposes. And this is a matter over which I struggled a lot with our colleagues from different departments who did not know, who did not understand the possible consequences of such leakage, I would say, of information. And when it comes to sensitive documents, to restricted use documents, you can only use server-based tools, which are only available to the users within the same entity, within the same company, and which will not leak to the internet, to the chat, because well, there have been situations in the world where due to information leakage, where information leakage actually changed the course of things drastically.
How do you handle the balance between efficiency and quality in your translations, especially when using AI tools?
Well, speaking about efficiency, as I had mentioned already, when it comes to huge documents that most likely no one is going to read, artificial intelligence helps meet the deadlines brilliantly. Because it really reduces the time of work on such documents. Because when you understand that what you are doing has practically no purpose and no one is going to use, you feel a little bit demotivated. And in this case, artificial intelligence or some automated translation tools, they really help you. They also work positive on your self-esteem and on your for your profession, for your sense of professionalism, because when you proofread and edit text after this and you have a lot to correct, you feel like, wow. It means that I'm better, I'm more professional than this tool, than this machine. Well, speaking about, again, coming back to the questions of machines replacing people, it is a disputable question, of course, but anyway, machines were created by humans, which means that in many aspects they will not be able to replace humans.
Mm-hmm. And as an experienced professional, what advice would you give to new translators about integrating AI tools into their workflow?
I would strongly recommend to be careful and not fully rely on such tools, but rather do a lot of manual work, a lot of manual translations, research, check, verify information, and of course, at the very start of your career and of your professional path, it is very important to develop, I would say, manually, and not rely fully on these tools, because actually you may feel quite relaxed when you can use this. It might create an impression, oh, it's easy peasy, just push a button, and you may just you may adopt the same approach as those customers who believe that it's just nothing, very easy to do, and that this job is if you fully rely on automated translations tool, this might give you an impression that this job is really not so important. And again, I'm speaking about my own experience. I do believe that my background, working in different fields, translating manually piles of documents, piles of materials, as I mentioned, science fiction movies, animation movies, and so on, really gave me solid knowledge, really solid background. And now, based on that, I can sometimes refer to automated translations tools to facilitate, to speed up some parts of my job that could be actually speed up.
Mm-hmm. Continuous learning and self-study are of utmost importance. And what are your plans on this? Again, considering the times we are living in.
And what I can say that for a translator and for an interpreter, continuous learning is a must, is a key, because it depends, of course, on the area you work in, but if you work in multiple areas in multiple directions, you need a lot of knowledge. I'm not speaking about really profound knowledge, but at least you should, well, translators must be well educated, not only on the techniques and specifics of translation, but have comprehensive knowledge and understanding of very different processes, of very different aspects of functioning of the world. Because when it comes to global politics, for example, or economy, or banking, finance, okay, medicine, specific knowledge in the field. Speaking about medicine, for example, or medical or technical translations, I do believe that translators should only specialize in these fields because they need really profound knowledge. Now it comes to my mind, I remember a few examples of bad translations, of mistakes and failures actually in translations that resulted in very unpleasant situations. For example, there was a case in Germany, if I'm not mistaken, when a special substance that is used for cementing knee joints, the name actually was translated incorrectly. There was an omission which led to the situation that surgeons believed no cement was required for this solution, or for this solution, yes, and it resulted in repeated surgery for around 50 patients due to this mistake, because they had to undergo repeated surgery of their knee joints and further rehabilitation, which usually lasts months, which is just one of the examples that specializing in this field and deep understanding of the specifics is really vital and crucial.
Could you share some situation that is similar to what happened in Germany in 2006, but not necessarily it's like the same
the same bad consequences?
Yes, exactly.
Well, since my sphere is not that vital as, for example, medicine, even some failures and some misunderstanding did not lead to some very adverse effects. However, this might happen, of course. But I remember some discussions and some arguments with colleagues who believe they have very good command of English, for example, and that they would question your translation, for example, of something. Now I remember an argument over the word maturity, which we all know means that when a person is mature, it means that, well, the general understanding is about some trait of character, not character, the trait that some person might have when when this person has profound background, experience, and so on, and makes decisions. Makes well-informed decisions, well-thought decisions, etc. But in finance, for example, in banking, the word maturity also refers to the term of loan repayment. For example, when you have a loan or some other obligation, it usually has some timeline, 2, 5 years, 10 years, and so on. And on the books, loans, for example, are grouped by maturities, which means like different buckets, And maturity here means something different. But we once had an argument with a colleague who did not understand why did we use the word maturity in this, and I had to explain, and she was like, "Wow, really?" But at first she was very suspicious, and she thought that we were unprofessional by since we used this word. And also, speaking about the difficulties, I remember a case, it was consecutive translation of our CEO. It was a case of consecutive translation. So he was delivering a speech to the public after a branch manager's meeting. And in his speech, he would sum up the results, he would tell about the expectations and so on. And this CEO, he was of French origin, and he had a really strong French accent. Of course, for me, as a speaker of French, as a translator from the French language, it was easier to understand him from time to time, but sometimes it was just impossible to understand. And sometimes, the English and the French languages have a lot in common. Around 30% of the vocabulary match, but with a different pronunciation, I would say. And French people sometimes believe that they can use any French word, just pronounce it in an English manner, and that would have the same meaning. However, there are a lot of false friends in this language pair. And so our CEO was delivering his speech, and suddenly I understand that I don't understand what he just said. And what he said was, "Customer behavior is changing." And I looked at him, customer, "Mais behavior." And then it struck me suddenly that behavior is behavior. So he just omitted several letters in the French manner and produced a word that was supposed to be English behavior. So there was a small pause in the translation, but thanks to, well, he was quite open-minded, and the situation, I would not say that it was informal, but it was less formal than it could be. For example, if this happened at the state level or at the international level, this might have entailed more bad consequences, but in this situation we just had a good laugh, and I continued. But I remember this case for my whole life. And actually, yes, in this again, in my interaction with francophone English speakers, the knowledge, the deep knowledge and understanding of the French language is an indispensable tool and support for me.
What final piece of advice would you offer to aspiring translators about maintaining their professionalism and expertise in an increasingly automated industry?
I would advise, first of all, as I had mentioned before, that not only translators but any young professionals should follow their hearts, follow your heart, do what you love, and you will definitely succeed. But any success requires hard work, continuous learning, self-study, and this is especially true if we speak about translation and interpretation. Continuous learning, continuous personal development means a lot, and you should really work hard, even especially in the beginning, in the very beginning. Once again, I would say, do not rely completely on machine translation tool, AI-assisted tools, because they quite often distort the meaning. They quite often omit important things, really important things, and this is unacceptable in certain areas, of course. In some areas it's just absolutely unacceptable and not advisable, I would say, in most areas. Well, so just don't be afraid to make mistakes. I do make mistakes. To err is human. I often reread my translations, the date back to, I don't know, several years before, and even some weeks before, and I always find something that I could improve, that I could have written better, that I could have translated better. And this means that there is a lot of room for development, and you will never be bored. You will have a lot of good laughs in your professional path, and really, if you love what you do, you will never get bored, and you will never feel like you're really working. You will just be the meaning of this profession actually to help people understand each other, to find understanding, and this is the ultimate goal you should be guided by. And I wish you good luck in your future career. Good luck with your life choice, and all the best.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Anna, for this valuable conversation. Wish you good luck too.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye bye.